Right, okay, so today we have this 2008 Ford Cougar. It's in for a DPF assessment. So what's really, really important is working out why the vehicle is having DPF problems. So what we'll do is we'll go through various checks, and we're making sure we don't have any boost leaks. We're making sure things like our EGR is working okay, etc., etc. So we're going to go through a lot of different checks on the vehicle. So we've been through a lot of checks, and we're happy that all that side of things is working okay. And what we do have on this vehicle is a fault for DPF differential pressure sensor circuit high. So we have a P2455E1, and this should be a pretty straightforward fault on here. So what we're going to do is go back out and get some data on the screen. The engine's not running, so we're going to go key on, engine off. Have already been through various other data on the vehicle, so I'm happy with everything else that's going on in the engine bay. So what I'm going to show you here is we have 41 kPa here at the minute with key on, engine off. Now 41.49, 41 kPa is 410 millibar. So even without the engine running, we have 410 millibar of pressure being reported. So we clearly have a fault with the pressure sensor or the wiring. So what we'll do is make sure these are reasonably common for broken wires, fairly close to the pressure sensor. We'll give that a good wiggle test. And what we will do is we'll use a sensor simulator. We'll go in there and we will make sure that we can get that reading 0 kPa. That's going to make sure that our wiring is intact, and we will feed it some plausible data to make sure that the ECU can see the change in voltage and that it's happy. We'll do that before replacing the pressure sensor. A high likelihood is on this, it's just going to need a pressure sensor. So first off, we shall start the engine. So when the engine starts, we now have 165 kPa. So clearly, it's not going to be reading accurately when we start off at 41. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a manual reading of the pressure in the DPF just to see what we are actually dealing with. So we'll leave the engine running. I have already unbolted the sensor ready for this test because this is just giving you a little walkthrough of the job, So the important message here, guys, although we are a product supplier, it is really important that we're diagnosing the problem on the car. We're not just going to start cleaning the DPF without working out what's going on. So in this case, that pressure sensor must be fixed, otherwise the car will never be fixed. So find your reason first for your DPF blockage, and then we can tackle that. All right, so got my manometer here. I'm going to go into the pressure pipe. So there you go. So what we have here is 86 millibar. All right, fluctuating 80, 86, 87. So that's what our actual pressure is. We're looking for below 10 millibar on a healthy DPF. So that is massively high. We do see worse, but that's a significant blockage in there that will require cleaning. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run the sensor simulator test on there to make sure that a pressure sensor is going to fix this car, and then we're going to use the DCL DPF soak and rinse to clean this DPF. So what we'll do is we'll get the kit up ready. We'll come back and we'll do a little walkthrough video of cleaning this DPF. Okay, so we are now going to clean this DPF. We measured it before. We have over 80 millibar, so it's sitting there about 86, 87 millibar at this moment in time. So we're now going to remove the manometer from the pipe, and we're going to switch the engine off. So we're going to do this without the engine running, and we're going to take our DCL Stage 1, the DPF Soak Pro, and I'm going to pour this into the DPF Applicator Pro. So let's get this in here. This is a 500 ml solution. So we've got the 500 ml in here. I'm going to get it in, and we're going to allow it to soak for 15 minutes. Okay. And all we're going to do is simply connect the cone attachment into here, which is the DPF pressure pipe. Please make sure that you are going into the one that goes in front of the DPF. There are two pipes here. One of them's thicker than the other, but that may not always be the case. So we've took a pressure reading from there. The one with the higher pressure is going to be a pre-DPF pipe. So make sure you go into the correct one. Hook up the toolkit. Let's get the airline on. And then let's get the fluid in. Okay. So it's going to take us a couple of minutes. And what I'm going to do is pulse the trigger every few seconds, just to allow the fluid to disperse down and into the DPF. So we're going to continue to do this. It will take a few minutes to pump it in there, and then we are going to allow it to soak for 15 minutes. And then what we'll do is we'll start the engine, we'll run this fluid through there, and then we'll move on with the next one, the stage 2, the DPF Rinse Pro. Okay, so we'll pump this in and we'll be back soon with the next step. Okay, so we've run the stage 1 fluid through now, and what we're doing is running the engine, and this is going to run for 5 to 10 minutes. We've had quite a significant blockage on this one, so the key is that we'll increase the RPM a little, and you'll see the exhaust smoke here. Make sure you do this in a well ventilated area, and all we're going to do is we're going to run this engine 5 or 10 minutes until this exhaust smoke starts to reduce. On this stage of the clean, we're not expecting any foam or anything like that out the exhaust. We're just going to get this noticeable exhaust smoke for the time being. So let's run this till it calms down, and then we will pump in the stage 2 fluid. Okay? Okay, so now that we've run the stage 1 fluid through there, what we're going to do is we're going to use the DPF Rinse Pro, which is the stage 2 fluid, and we're going to do this in 2 stages. Okay? This is a 2 litre bottle, so we're going to put a litre in at a time. So we're going to put half of this in, then we're going to run it through the exhaust, we're going to run the engine for a little while, and then we are going to put the rest of it in. So we're not going to put 2 litres of fluid in one go. Okay, we're going to put half of this fluid in now, and then we're going to run the engine, and we'll judge that. We're looking for, when we run the engine, we're looking for, not all vehicles will get foam out of the exhaust, guys. It depends on the layout of the DPF, so don't panic if you only get some residual smoke but no foam. That's absolutely fine. But we'll run the engine for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes until the smoke or the foam starts to settle down. We'll then repeat the process with the next half of the fluid. Okay, so half of that is in there now. I'll just carefully put that there while I put the lid back on, and then we'll connect up the gun and we'll pump this fluid through. So it's an important piece of the step in the process here is pump half of this fluid in and then run the engine. Okay, don't pump both lots of the fluid in straight away. Let's just run that through, and then we'll run the second litre through. Okay. And again, I'm going to pulse this. I'm going to do this in small steps until all of the fluid is in. Okay, so we've now pumped all of the stage 2 in there. So again, we've done that in 2 stages. So we'll pump half of it through first, 1 litre, and then we run the engine. So in this case, we'll run it for around 10 minutes. And then we've pumped in the rest of the stage 2, the rinse. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start the engine and we're going to run it, and we're going to watch for, we might get foam. We don't always, don't panic if you don't. So we'll get some exhaust smoke or maybe a bit of foam. We'll go and take a look and see what we've got. We are currently running through the stage 2 fluid, the Rinse Pro, and you'll notice we have 2 catch tanks because we have 2 exhaust tailpipes there. So in this case, we're only getting smoke, we're not getting any foam. That's quite normal on certain exhausts, but it's important that we do use something to catch any fluids that come out there, because it is a waste product and it should be dealt with accordingly. So in this case, we only have smoke, so we're not going to have any waste in there. But it's really important, if you are getting foam coming out of the exhaust, please don't let it go straight on the ground. You should be catching it and dealing with it safely, okay? So all we're going to do now is we're going to run this engine for maybe another 10 minutes until we see this visible exhaust smoke start to settle down, and then we will go and carry out an extended road test. That's also a really important part of the process. The vehicle must be driven nice and steady, ideally around 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour for around 20 minutes. So we're going to let the smoke die down, and that's what we'll do next. We'll connect up the scan tool and we'll go out on a road test. So we've been out on our 20-minute road test and we're back now, so we can see a manual pressure reading. We have a nice 5.8, so let's say 6 millibar of pressure in the DPF there. So we started off at around 87, so over 80 millibar at idle. We've ran through the DCL, soak and rinse, and we're sitting at a nice healthy 6 millibar. But the important thing here, guys, was why were we having DPF problems? The DPF pressure sensor had failed and the ECU was unable to see what was going on. So we ended up with a loaded up DPF. This has been driving for quite some time with that defective sensor, hence why the DPF was significantly blocked on this. So DPF's nice and clean, pressure sensor's been replaced, job done, good to go. Make sure that you fix your underlying cause of the DPF problem. No matter how good the product is, without doing that, you're not going to successfully fix the car. So another very, very important part of the process is to rinse out your DPF Applicator Pro after usage. So all we're doing is using some water. Very simple, teaching you how to suck eggs, I know, but this is going to play a big part in the longevity of your toolkit. Alright, the Applicator Pro will not last. You'll have problems with seals in it and stuff if you don't rinse it through. So nice and simple, all we are doing is filling the tank with water, and we're going to put the hose into our catch tank, connect up the airline hose and just blast it through. Simple as that. Just give it a good rinse after usage.